Taking a brief looking around us would reveal the diverse world that we belong to. Many different types of creatures, including plants, animals, and humans. These differences can lead us to understand the inclusion and integration between the roles of all kinds of lives in the earth. However, do we as humans truly realize the real meaning of diversity? To answer this question, we went to Ms. Sandra, the Associate Professor in the Department of Media at Arkansas State University. Ms. Combs, who has more than 20 years of experience in many newspapers in the United States, has been showing the notion of diversity as a main topic in her writing as well as her classes in the university since she joined the journalistic field.
For me, diversity is an inclusive concept. Diversity is, and I've got this little thing on my wall in my office, outside my office. It says, and I want to get it right, diversity is different individuals valuing each other regardless of skin, intellect, talents, or years. So that in itself covers a whole lot more than race and gender. It covers occupation, it covers education, it covers age, diversity of politics, all those different things. I think too many of our people today in our society think of diversity as sexual orientation or sex or gender, race, nationality, and those are pretty much it. We all have our own personal baggage. We all have that which shapes us. Now, if I was raised in a big city, my outlook on life and my concept's going to be a whole lot different than somebody who was born and raised in rural Arkansas. Not saying either one is bad or good, but those kinds of exposures that I have in the big city versus rural Arkansas are gonna influence what I think and how I act and how I relate to people and different situations, whereas it's not gonna be the same. So I think it starts with where we're from, our family, where we get our basic education, things that we are exposed to. I think when we become more aware of what each group entails, we will have a better understanding of what it is, and maybe not be so fearful or so judgmental. If I am unaware of what you believe and your practices, it's on me to find out, because there are areas where I can go to learn. It's on me. But I'm really not going to be willing to change that until I personally come in contact with somebody who is from that, because I can hold it at a distance and not have to think about it and just hold whatever biases, generalities I have in my mind, stereotypes. But when I actually encounter someone, then that is going to be challenged, because I see the person face to face and they're not trying to kill me, they're not, disrespecting me or because I'm a woman or whatever. And I think part of it is, number one, learning should be a part of our education system. Learning about diverse populations. It should be a part of the media. So to me, diversity is a beautiful tossed salad in a glass bowl.
Ms. Combs explained the main concept that lead any person to know whether a religion or a culture advocates diversity or not. That motivated us to apply these concepts to one of the most growing religions in the world, which is Islam.
That I mentioned of unjust and zulm. Diversity in general in Islam, it is a source of enrichment, a source of fortunate, as long as it leads to the benefit of the commonwealth of the human being, whether they are Muslim or not. In the first surah, second surah of Quran, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in one of its verses, La ikraha fi din. There is no compulsory in the religion. And we find at the end of the Quran, in one of the last surah of Quran, to you is your religion and to me is mine. The first thing Prophet ﷺ agreed with all of those diversity and diverse of the society, of the people in Medina, is to sit down and to make a treaty. The first aim of it is safety for all of the people. And also another very important component of it, it was that everyone, they have the freedom for their religion, the freedom for assembly. We find Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when he came among the people, among the Muslim, we find so many diverse groups, diverse tribes, diverse status. We find one of the and some of the companion of Prophet ﷺ, they were from Abyssinia, they were black from Abyssinia. So even in the diversity of the message of Prophet ﷺ, we saw men and women and old and young. We saw poor people like Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu and other, that Prophet ﷺ had a place for them where they learn and they are taking care of them.
If all that were written in Holy Quran, which is the holy book of Muslims, and that is what Muslims believe, so how this religion is being portrayed in the Western media? Answering this question can lead to understanding the public attitudes of Islam. Dr. Mary Betts, a professor of multimedia journalism at Arkansas State University, is the appropriate person to answer these questions.
I think one of the things that you have to think about when you talk about how media portrays different groups of people, that you have to go back and you have to think about the person individually first. And so you have someone that is in the media, they have had their own personal individual experiences. They have also developed perceptions of their own about different media or about different individuals and different cultures based upon the social relationships that they have and also the social categories that they fit into. When we're dealing with the portrayal of people groups, if we do not have representation in the newsroom of those people groups, it's going to be hard to accurately portray those people groups correctly. So same goes in a newsroom when you're dealing with culture. If you have none of those cultures represented, then it's going to be hard to ensure that there is no prejudice against those groups. So in the Middle East, let's say, when we're talking about issues related to Islam, if people are not familiar with that culture, can they operate in that culture sufficiently enough to be able to tell the stories accurately with no bias? I really am not sure that they can do that. Do I honestly think that a media organization is out to set a specific agenda and portray a people group? I do not believe that. I just don't think that they're specifically thinking about that when they go out to cover something. They're not going, I'm going to cover Islam this way because they're bad, let's say. No, I don't think they're thinking that. But I do think when they start asking the questions, that it still goes back to those individual differences in social categories. If you look at the cultivation theory, one of the major premises of that particular theory is that if people continue to see portrayal in a certain way, then they will begin to believe that that portrayal is accurate, okay? So if you have that level and that person is consistently seen, let's say in the news, constantly about a certain people group, then, oh, they're bad people. They're really bad.
According to a study that was conducted by Media Tenor, an international research institute led by Roland Schutz, after what happened in 9/11/2001, the coverage of Islam turned to be negative. While comparing the stories that show Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, Islam was perceived negatively as a source of violence and aggression. This study also shows an apparent absence of Muslim religious leaders in news coverage about Islam. As a result of this study, it is obvious that media attributes violent behaviors to their owners' beliefs. Based on this understanding, religions are responsible for many terrorist disasters in the history of human beings, which is not true. The logical interpretation of that is the gap between the values of each religion and the people's understanding of them. However, what is the expected role of media to portray any culture or religion, and what are the factors that affect the process of media to show any culture moderately?
Talking about the newsroom culture, okay? Because we're taught you gotta have maybe 2 sides to the story. That's not really enough. It might be 3 sides, 4 sides, it might be 10 sides to a story that you really should develop. Now here's the deal. As a media professional, I have to think outside of my individual realm, okay? But I also have to recognize that I have maybe prejudice toward certain people groups, and I have to go, okay, that's not what I'm supposed to be. So I've used this other set of values over here, in addition to my own personal values, to help me get through that process so that I can be objective, so that I can go, okay, is this an important story? It has to be important for my listeners, okay? And then after that, I have to look at, okay, one, if I get information about the Middle East right now, it's through the lens of perhaps a national media group, okay? If I'm in Arkansas, it's normally going to be through a national media group. That's the first gatekeeping step right there. And then I have to take that information and I have to look at it and say, well, what can I report about that that's important to my listener here, or my viewer here, my consumer of my content? I have to think about that, but I have to be objective. But you know, it's going to be really hard to be objective if all I've ever heard about that people group is something that appears to be negative. If you do not have direct one-on-one experiences, then you're going to rely on vicarious experiences. And when we talk about vicarious experiences, that means those experiences of portrayal, whether in television, whether in movies, pictures of fashion magazines or anything like that. Those are examples of how the media portrays individuals. And then when those other people see that, they get a perception. And that becomes what they think that people group is. It's only when you get a chance to talk one-on-one to people that you really find out that they're just people.
So, based on what Dr. Pitts mentioned, a culture may not be as same as what is being portrayed in media. Islam can be one of these religions and cultures that were shown in a different frame of reality for a hidden purpose. Allah said in the Holy Quran, "O people, we have created you from a male and a female, and made you tribes and families that you may know each other. Surely the noblest of you with Allah is the most beautiful of you. Surely Allah is knowing and aware."
أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير